Hi, welcome to another episode of our podcast. So, last week we didn't do it last week, right?
No.
All right. So, this week we're gonna do like two episodes of everything that we been covering, which is Hinamatsuri 8 and 9,
Yep.
Piano no Mori, the same thing.
7 and 8 for
Make
Piano no Mori, I think.
so 7 and 8 for Piano no Mori, the same thing for Hisone no Masutan. Megalobox gonna be 8 and 9, and then we're gonna cover episode 25, 26 to 30 of Rose of Veiled.
Right. Yep. I'm excited for that.
All right, all right. Let's start with which the one you just watched. So let's start
Uh,
with
Hisone
Hisune no
Domasa-tan.
Masutan.
Yep, that's right. It'll actually be episodes 6 through 8 of this one, I
Oh, so
think, because
three
we're
episodes.
yeah, because we usually do the podcast on Friday before Essentially gets the subs up, but this time we're doing it later in the weekend. Subs are
Yep.
up, so instead of just doing 2 episodes, it's going to be 3 total.
All
That's a
right.
lot of stuff to cover. I
Mm-hmm.
already know a little bit about how you feel about the direction that the show has taken because I'm I keep up with your posts on our blog and also the blog that you just started. There'll
Oh,
be I put a link to that in the description in the last episode. We'll do that again this one. So
yep.
if any of y'all are curious, it's silvermoonwithexitwounds.com. You can find the link in the description box. And there are movie reviews and weekly anime summaries and projects and things of that nature.
Thank you, Whooper.
You're welcome. Shameless plug, man. You didn't even have to do it. So, all that to say, by following along with your thoughts that you're publishing online, I kind of know that you're not really feeling the festival direction that the show is going in, and the idea that the girls have to be like broken down in order to play their part in this larger plot that's being set up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to say anything else about like why
Yeah.
that doesn't appeal to you or what you think the show is doing wrong?
Well, that was my impressions, coming from episode 6 and 7. So I do feel like when the show start to focus on, like the romantic, the romantic tension between the girls with other guys. I think like it just go up a track. It's supposed to be like developing the characters, or even like developing the chemistry between the girls and the dragons,
Right.
and not those the girls with like all the romantic things with the guys. So
Yeah.
that's what I feeling, and I think it's a bit mean spirit as well for the plan to like to get hooked with the girls and then crush their dreams, crush their heart,
Yeah.
in order to like to commit to the dragon. So I feel the whole thing is so bullshit.
I pretty much agree. But I noticed that when you were talking about that, you said episodes 6 and 7. Did anything change
Yeah.
your mind in episode 8, the most recent one?
Alright.
Or
Yes. On the other hand, episode 8, when they actually tell us in more detail about what the mission they're going to do, I think it makes sense. So the romantic thing is still very stupid. Like and the end, where we got like only Mikos,
yeah,
the maidens,
right.
and the reveal of the guy who is supposed to be like someone important.
Right.
I
I've got his title right here. He is the High Steward of the Department of Divinities.
I don't even know what that means.
It means he's part of a religious section of the government that focuses
All
on
right.
like religious matters, and he's very high up.
So I just don't buy any of that. But when the mission about like the girls have to escort the big dragon
Right.
for 3 days and 3 nights. I think that's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, me too. I kind of felt similarly. I feel like episode 8 did a lot to bring the show up from out of its like tailspin or its nosedive to try to
Mm-hmm.
use like an aeronautic term since the show's all about you know, not planes but OTFs.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the idea. They finally brought the Joa lady, the older woman,
Yep.
into the story, and we've known for a while that she's significant because you know, when Iboshi is like in episode 6, I think,
Yep.
he's like, why didn't anyone bring the attention of this Joa sales lady to me before? So it's
Mm-hmm.
clear
Mm-hmm.
that he recognizes her and that she's significant somehow. And she's also tied to the shared dreams that the girls have on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think
And it
Hisone
turned
at
out,
one point
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
turned
You
out
go
what?
on, you go on. It turned out that the Iceland is the dragon himself.
Yes, Masaton is the dragon that she used to pilot, but she called him something else. I did not write that down.
No.
Um, but the yeah, it was established early on that the nicknames that are given to the dragons, that's on a pilot to OTF basis. They don't have names that
Mm-hmm.
stick with them. It's up to the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the name that she gave to Masatan sounded like much more, you know, authoritative and like kind of royal. Maybe just because it was in
Mm-hmm.
French or something.
I think
Um,
it was in Serbian or something. It sounds kind of very strange.
okay. Yeah, definitely not Japanese at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I did like episode 8 and even the stuff with the shrine maidens and Haruto, the guy who Hisone has the or who has a crush on Hisone. Him
Mm-hmm.
being like a high steward and being some like that's pretty typical of anime, right? To reveal that a character
Mm-hmm.
is way more significant than you thought at first. So I was okay with that too. Like introducing all these new characters and these new players has me hoping that the show will move away from whatever misfire of a like that's crushed their hearts and their spirits. Like
Mm-hmm.
move away from that, introduce some new characters, focus on them a little bit, focus on the festival itself and not whatever silly like weird idea you have for its setup.
Yep. I
And
agree.
I like the idea that you know the girls have to trust the dragons and the dragons if trust is put in them and they sense that they'll reciprocate by taking care of the flying while the girls are asleep. You know, I like that idea because it has to do with the relationship between the pilots and the OTFs rather than the relationship between the pilots and some guys who are given significance in the story just so that the girls' hearts can be broken. I don't really feel that that's even like mean spirited is one thing, but I don't think it makes a lot of sense, and I also don't think it's very interesting. I would
Mm-hmm.
rather get a story about OTFs who pilot dragons, and also maybe there's some romance on the side. Why not just tell a romantic story instead of integrating it into a silly festival plot?
That's right. I agree with you like 100% on those things.
I guess we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts about
Yeah.
these episodes, like any of them in particular?
Yeah. On the last episode, so episode 8, the first half actually established like on this ritual. That's what I think that's what they put it. And yes, I actually think that a lot of things make sense. For the second half when they do the run, at first I think it's a bit too quick because I thought that was I wasn't sure that it was just a run, just a try, just a test, or it was the actual thing that the girls have to do.
Well, they were following a blimp.
Yep.
It wasn't Mitatsu-sama or whatever the guy's name is.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
The blimp was just a test. It was like a dummy for the test.
Oh, right. Yeah. 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 So I I wasn't sure at first, so I thought the plot was going a bit too fast.
Right. That would be way too fast.
Yeah, that would be way too fast. But it was just a test, so I I liked I liked everything in the episode 8. I think it's like a big step up
Yeah.
from previous few episodes.
Right. Yeah. Episode 7 in particular. Like I wasn't wild about episode 6 because that was the one where they actually get off the island.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we see like apparently they're on Mitatsu-sama, like that island, like the concept of the world turtle,
Mm-hmm.
um, this a big gigantic like monster creature animal in the ocean, and you're on its back, and like that. I'm sure that's present in Japanese mythology. It's present in other cultures and mythologies as well. So they were on Mitatsu-sama. That he was the island,
Mm-hmm.
and they go into that cave, and there's like cave paintings, and there's the torii, like the shrine gates and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In that episode, there was the way that they explained that Hoshino like actually loves her dragon, because this is a debate we had last time we talked about this show.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't think she really loves her dragon, at least not in a way that I would consider real love or affection. And you were like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I think she probably does, and she just shows it in a different way. The show's point of view is that she loved her dragon all along, um, but I don't know. I didn't really buy that. Like the only reason that she allows her dragon to get out of F2 form and like kind of consoles it for working so hard and always staying one way is because Hisone realizes, because she licks the dragon, she tastes that it's salty, and she's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, the dragon must have been going out for night swims to cool itself off because it's overheating when it stays in F2 form. And it's like as a result of that observation that Hoshino says, "Oh, you've been working so hard. I love you." I just started
Yeah.
laughing when that happened. I didn't buy it at all.
Well,
But
I
you
didn't
were
buy it
right.
either. Yeah. Well,
You were right. She loved her dragon all along, man.
well, that's just the basic of every anime.
Yeah, I guess so. They've said that multiple times in this one. Like love will always win in the end. That line has been uttered already.
That's yeah.
And that's the whole thing that I'm disappointed with in the festival plot. Like if the idea is that you have to, make the girls fall in love and then crush their hopes and dreams so that they'll pay attention to their dragons and be able to complete the ceremony. That obviously the end goal, or the point that the show will make, the axe that it will grind throughout, is like love wins. So
Mm-hmm.
clearly Hisone is gonna end up with this high steward guy. And
Yep.
in episode 7, when the girl who's obsessed with the Kingdom manga is taking all these notes, she's like, "Oh no, Hoshino will never end up with the what's the
That
best way to
guy.
describe him?
I
He's like
the
he's a Chad. He's a
yeah.
jock. Obviously she's
Right.
gonna end
Let's
up
go
with
with that.
him. It's silly. The whole setup is silly, but she's gonna end up with him just because, oh, it's a woman's destiny to fall happily in love with a man. Blah blah blah.
Well,
It's kind of
we,
dumb.
because we see that there actually kind of chemistry between them.
Is there really? I mean, I think the show's pushing that a little too hard.
I know. It just it the all of everything you just said, that's just too over nose on the nose. That's just too obvious. But yeah,
Yeah. I kind of
that's why.
like the relationship between Hisone and the guy,
Yep.
just because she seems to be the one who's leading things, and he's, like he gets flustered whenever she speaks about him, with admiration,
Yep.
because she's not able to express herself or figure out what she wants to do, like in the way that he has, I suppose. Um, so and she orders the Blu-ray of the movie, like the original, the remake they see in the theaters based on. That's kind of cute. I kind of
Yep.
like that. But the show's
I
approach to romance on the whole, I don't really like.
that yep, that was I feel too. So I think after the episodes I think it's pretty clear that the show gonna go to the whole festival, the whole ritual for as their main as the climax. And
Yeah.
I think I I'm up for that.
Yeah, me too.
I like that idea. Yep.
They even changed the opening theme in episode 8. Did you catch that?
They yeah I did see that. Yes.
Yeah. So there's shots of the shrine maidens now, and all the dragons are like flying through a thunder cloud. So it's,
And
it clearly pointing us toward the festival.
yep. All right, that's a good that's just a good comeback for me from Hisone no Masutan.
Yeah, me too. I feel the same way.
Yep. All right, let's get to the next show.
Sure.
Let's go with Piano no Mori.
Okay.
So the
Um,
last two episodes is we have like the 5 year jump.
yes, that's right. The big time skip. So we are in post movie territory now.
How you feel about them?
Um, episode 7, I was not about it. That was the one where big focus on Shuhei, which is an interesting way. Like, Kai is the main character. The manga is even subtitled "The Perfect World of Kai," so it's his story. And using Shuhei as a way to guide us into the things that Kai has been up to over the last 5 years, so that we catch up that way. We're not like just thrown into it, but because he is an outsider to what Kai's been doing, and we accompany him in terms of his knowledge and his point of view. That's like, it's a common technique, and it's a good one, so that we're just not drowned in information. However, um, I don't know. I like Shuhei's whole thing. He still has the inferiority complex. He finds himself unable to play the second that he finds out that Kai is, you know,
You
still playing the
you
piano.
you know what? You have to make sense of the fact that every character in this story, Piano no Mori story, have a Kai complex. Everyone think of Kai as like some kind of god, some kind
Right.
of like the way he play will like like move them in a way that like they can't just feel that anymore, and they just want to see him again,
Right.
to feel that again.
Yeah.
So
It's the same for Takako, who we don't see until
yep.
episode 8. But like for Shuhei in particular, I'd like him to be less of a destined rival and more of a character in his own right. Like, I would love for this to be an ensemble thing rather than just a Kai love fest.
Yep.
Um, and there was nothing wrong with episode 7. It was fine. We got to see what Kai was up to. It was interesting, like where he was working and where he was living. He was dressing in drag, doing the piano shows at the, what kind of club was it? Like a cabaret club or a hostess club or something like
I
that.
think yep. I think it's a cabaret club.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of fits with Kai's character. He's kind of a punk. Like, he's not gonna he's not gonna follow the rules just because they're laid down by somebody else that he doesn't care about. He's gonna do his own thing. So that fits.
Yep.
Um, I can't speak like too clearly as to why I have such a problem with Shuhei being, like, I don't know, so enthralled to Kai. I just rather, like, this is a show about the world of competitive pianists. So I would like to see more than just one, so we can get a larger scope, a better idea of the competitive world, which I think episode 8 does a much better job of.
All right. For me personally, I actually like the two episodes that we see. So like everything after the five year gap, I actually pretty dig it. I'm
Yeah.
digging it. I contrary contrary to you, I think Shuhei issues Shuhei like complex with Kai actually have actually the job because like when we see when he was when they played the tournament when they was young, um Shuhei, like although Shuhei won the competition, he feel like he lost to Kai, and we I think we talked it about that before, that like although Shuhei is like the best pianist on that in that competition, he always feel like he Kai is like some a level beyond him.
Right.
So I actually like it when the show tackle that, that tackle that upfront, that his insecurity,
But
his yep, go on,
my
yep.
my issue, just really briefly in the middle of what you're saying, is that nothing has changed in 5 years. His relationship with Kai is exactly the same.
Well, that actually makes sense because they don't see each other for 5 years.
Yeah, I guess.
So
Yeah.
like it kind of stuck. I just don't like the fact that like they put they frame it as Shuhei running away from Kai when he went overseas to study, because I actually don't see it that way, but it is Shuhei who think that he himself running away from Kai.
Right. And
uh,
in episode 7, he makes up his mind not to run away anymore
yep,
after he gets the piano lesson from
from
the
the kid.
kid, Daiki, who is Kai's
Yeah,
student.
yeah.
But that even that, like, Kai is on one level, and he's got some snot-nosed brat who's taking
Mm-hmm.
piano lessons from him, just not like for music, just as a way to express himself, because he clearly has issues going on at school, maybe at home. Maybe
Yep.
Kai sees something of himself in this kid, so he uses like a kind of music therapy almost.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's this kid who knows like nothing about the piano that has to teach Shuhei how
Yeah,
to
but
express himself.
that worked for him. So I,
Yeah.
it's kind of a good thing for me.
Yeah, sometimes wisdom can come from the mouths of kids, or just
Mm-hmm.
something that causes you to reassess your circumstances, or it doesn't you don't
Right.
have to find it all within yourself. You can get, inspiration and figure out your own issues, how to solve them by taking lessons and direction from other people, even if they're children who don't know
Yep.
how to play the piano.
Right. And my favorite part of the two episodes was the scene involving Takako, who who actually realized that she came to see Kai playing. I like everything about that. I like her as a character.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened in episode 8, and I haven't even
Yeah.
like gotten to episode 8 yet. I liked episode 8.
All right.
Um
All
it
right.
was the very
Tell me
beginning
about.
the very beginning of it. Uh
Mhm.
I feel as though the show kind of skillfully moved all its players into this, like, all of its pieces into the center of the board.
All
If
right.
you want to use like a chess analogy, because it
Mhm.
starts with the guy, the former judge, who was
Mhm.
obsessed with Kai's piano playing while Kai was dressing as a
Maria.
woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that guy, in the process of trying to find Maria, realizes that Ajino is teaching again, and that Kai is his student,
Mhm.
and that Kai is like performing in the tournament circuit.
Mhm.
So he gets involved back in the show, and he represents like the judges who once tried to hold Kai back. So then he
Yep.
talks to his friend, who he kind of strong armed into voting Kai out, who is now Takako's teacher, and so he takes
Mhm.
Takako to see Kai's performance. And then you have Ajino, who 25 years ago was a player in the same competition that Kai's about to enter, the Chopin competition, and
Mhm.
his teacher. So there's kind of like a generational thing going on. It used to be Sero, the conductor, and Ajino, the
Yep.
pupil.
Mm-hmm.
And now,
Mm-hmm.
25 years later, it's Ajino and Kai. So a whole bunch of characters are moving towards this Chopin tournament, but it's all happening very naturally.
That's right.
And I was actually very impressed by that. I didn't expect this show to be able to pull that sort of thing off. So the fact that
Yeah.
episode 7 delayed that also made me unhappy. But
All right.
I think it served its purpose. I like Sero, the conductor. I like the idea, and just the fact that like it's echoing throughout time or history. That there are always geniuses and upstarts who are challenging the status quo, and there are always judges who try to hold them back. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so Ajino is probably looking for redemption through Kai. So I figure that Ajino is about to become a more um, like relevant
Active.
character.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly.
All
Yeah,
right. Mm-hmm. All right.
I'm done.
The only I agree with you like everything like you said again. The only thing that I feel too incredible for the whole performance, the whole things, is when Kai play a piano and then one of the string was broken. Is it? Is that
Yes.
really happen when you play in the tournaments? I just
Um, I have never witnessed a piano string breaking. I've never seen it happen, uh, and I've actually never even heard of it happening. But it is a string instrument. Like that's how the piano works. You hit the key, which causes the mallet to inside the piano to rise up and hit the string. That's what causes the tone. So I
mm-hmm.
guess if the piano like it's not very believable because you would think that at a tournament the piano that's going to be performed on, they would have it tuned to perfection, and they would know about
that
any of these issues.
that's correct. Yes.
But I guess it was just a freak thing, and Kai, being such a genius, was able to create a new arrangement on the fly and dodge that string.
Whew. Yeah, that
So
just
you
sound
didn't like that?
too. Yeah, that just sound too incredible for me to believe.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Uh, I actually
But
liked it.
yeah, all right.
I was envisioning like the string breaks, Kai makes a new arrangement. Wow, he's such a genius. That's what goes on in the scene essentially. But and there was a CG performance, the same issues that have dogged the show for its entire run so far. But what I wanted when that string broke, I wanted like a Death Note level uh, direction where he would there would be crazy camera movements all along the keys of the piano and like Kai's eyes darting back and forth and like the key that he's not supposed to hit because the string is
Yep.
broken. I wanted that to be
Uh-huh.
like outlined in red and his fingers are like darting over it and he's this like really mentally taxing and he's having to come up with this
That's
entire
that's
arrangement.
that's it too much, man.
I would have loved that, honestly, because then we would be focusing not just on the performer, but the performance itself. Like I wish there were more info that we could get and more visual visual importance being
Yep.
placed on the actual performance, like the hitting of the keys, the creation of the sounds. Instead, but I mean, the show's limited in what it can do. I'm sure it's being made on a shoestring budget and by a studio that doesn't have a lot of experience. Um, so I was okay with the scene, but it did play right into the Kaiser Genius thing pretty hard.
Yeah, I know. One last thing I want to talk about Piano no Moris was I know some source confirm that it's been two core, so
Right?
20
Yeah.
like 24 episodes. But when I check in the chat, I just see that it doesn't appear for the next season. So I'm not really sure if it's gonna be like a continuous two core or it's just one core
I see it
or
on
anything.
I see it on any chart right here. It's in the leftovers category for summer,
Oh, is it
which
is it
means
is
it's
it
going to
still on?
continue to run.
All right, that's good then.
Yeah.
Mm.
You were actually the one who brought it to my attention last time we did this podcast that it was going to be two core,
Yep.
which I didn't know, and that's good. I mean, especially with episode 8, creating this new story about the Chopin tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel as though it needs that time. Not that the Chopin tournament is going to be at the very end and there's just going to be a bunch of fluff and padding between now and then, but
Yep.
it clearly has, maybe it has an arc in mind for Kai's development as a pianist.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm
All
looking
right.
forward to seeing that play out.
The next question is how the show gonna pace everything. Do you think that's the Chopin tournament's gonna be happen next episodes?
I think it
That's
probably will.
that's a 1 year time. Yeah, that we're talking about.
Wait, oh, it's happening in 1 year. I thought it was 3 months. Is that wrong?
Oh, is it 3 months?
I let me see if I
But
wrote this down.
all right. I think 3 months is the festival, the ritual of the Hisone no Masutan,
Yes, that's true.
and
Maybe
one
I got
year,
the two mixed up.
yeah, and 1 year for the Chopin.
Okay, I'm gonna trust you
I
on that.
all right.
I trust you.
Be- yeah, because I remember both Kai uh and the other guy Shuhei just saying like 1 year is that gonna be enough?
Okay.
So I think it's 1 year then.
Um, the show just did a 5 year time skip, so I wouldn't put it past it to do another 1 year. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I almost, excuse me, I almost expect that it will, because they have laid the groundwork in terms of the character, each of the characters' interest in
Yep.
the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
For it to have some significance. We know what Ajino wants. He wants to see Kai succeed where he failed. We know what Sero wants. He wants to back Kai to stick it to the judges who didn't recognize Ajino's brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
We know what Shuhei wants from it. He wants to surpass Kai. So we all that is in place. So I wouldn't feel bad if they went straight into the tournament. But since
Yep.
there is a year, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer probably for a bit of a pillow between now and then. Like
Mm-hmm.
let's get into Takako's story more. Obviously, she's injured. That's
Oh,
what's going on with her right now. But or introduce some new characters. There's characters we haven't seen yet in the OP. Like when are they gonna pop up?
all right. I would love to see more about Takakos. I like the scene that got me the most was his teachers, his sensei that came to her and talked to her that you play 7 tournaments and I have seen you playing for 7 tournaments already. And her first reaction was like, "Oh my god! So you saw me play? You saw Kai play at the very first one?" I,
Wait, who? I remember the conversation you're talking about. It's she's telling her teacher.
yep.
She's kind of like, oh, you were aware of his resurgence for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you hide this from me? I don't think she says that, but that might be the implication.
Mm, no, that was when she told the guy about Kai. Like, oh, so you was the church that like overlooked Kai's performance at that
Right,
time.
right.
Yeah, so I kind of like that details.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that's going to put strain on their relationship
No,
as teacher and
no, no,
student?
no, no, no. It just kind of those little details that I like.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna affect their relationship or anything.
yeah. Well, it shouldn't, right? Because he already apologized. He called himself a blockhead, at least in the
Yep.
subs that I was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yep.
doing the
Mm-hmm.
PAS subs off Nya. Um, so yeah, I mean, he apologized. He realized that what he did was wrong. And Takako, I'm sure that she understands that. She's older now. Everyone's 5 years older.
Yep. All right. Talking about new characters, let's get to Hinamashuri.
Yes, the segue.
Yep. So we got like a whole bunch of new characters in Hinamashuri for the last 2 episodes.
Yes, we did.
First, we got the woman who tried to get Hina back. Her name is Kay.
Right. Right.
And then we got Hina's classmate who into uh on the occult stuff, and her name is Mami.
Right. I think she's more of a Chuni, if you know what I mean, if you know what I mean by
Yep,
that, then she is
I
into
know what you mean.
occult stuff. Yeah. I think she's got eighth grader syndrome.
Yep, yep, that's right. And then we got probably that's one of the most significant girl. I mean, like, so she gonna be on the same level as Anju and Hitomi in the future. So we got that new girl named Mao.
Right. Who was in the first episode.
Yep. Who actually, yes, who actually was in the first episodes.
Right.
So what do you think about Hinamashuri for the last few episodes?
We did get one new character. The
Yeah.
guy who gets out of jail in episode 9.
Oh, and that guy as well.
He's
Oh
referred
my
to
god.
as Nita's brother, but I think that probably just means like brother in terms of fellow yakuza.
Yep, that's right. Yep, that's what I think.
I was confused about that for a second, but I'm pretty sure every time that he said brother, he was literally saying in Japanese aniki, so that doesn't mean literal brother. Um, what do I think about? Well, I guess I'll just quickly go over my thoughts on all the new characters.
All right.
The thing I'm most interested about in Kei's case, or Kai, I put Ikaruga, which is her family name.
All right.
But
So
is it
let's
Kei
let
or
you start.
Kai? That's fine, Kei or Kai.
It's Kei, so
Right.
K.
Okay. So for Kei, she says at one point, "I'm only human."
All right.
I don't remember what the context was, but
I
you know,
remember what the context was.
what was it?
All right. So when she think when she just think about Hina getting out of control and she destroyed the whole city. So should Kay want to run away. So she said like I'm not gonna do the job. I'm just only human.
Right. So that was interesting to me because I don't think it had ever been confirmed that Hina and Anzu were actually human beings.
Oh.
But now, assuming they're from the same place as Kay, now we have confirmation that they are. I mean, obviously they
Well,
look like human beings.
well, you Case, I haven't seen Kay doing any of the special ability stuff, so maybe she's just kind of like a what a person who look over all the girls.
Right.
So we still not really sure that if the girls are human being or not.
Okay, well, I see your point. Yeah. It's we don't have confirmation. I mean, they could be like a different species,
Mm-hmm.
some kind of mutant, like an X-Men thing, where you're not quite human anymore on like a molecular level, like a biological level.
Mm-hmm.
But my current theory, now that she said I'm only human, is that Kei, Mao, Hina, and Anzu are from an alternate reality, like a different dimension,
Mm-hmm.
which parallels our Earth, except they have psychic powers and like really advanced technology.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they look like us.
The Yeah, and the brief scene that we saw when he now wrecking the whole city, that city looked kind of like the Earth that we're living now. So
Right.
yeah, I agree with your theory.
So they're like, and what was it? Anzu didn't understand the concept of like money or paying for things. I don't think Hina
Mm-hmm.
did at first either. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
they live in like a post-scarcity world, where resources are just super plentiful somehow. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
give with their technology, they've figured out how to synthesize food and materials, so they
Mm-hmm.
don't need their, like they have unlimited amounts of everything. They can just create without matter being there in the first place. Maybe I'm getting too sci-fi, but maybe like that's why they don't understand the concept of paying for things, because why would you ever need to go to a store when you just have whatever you want? You can just
Mm-hmm.
synthesize it somehow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So that's really the
Alright.
only thought I had about Kay. She's some kind of supervisor or zookeeper or something. She's just, some kind of boss who's in charge of the girls. But of course, she's not as powerful as they are. So
Mhm.
she kind of, she's kind of typical of like upper management, maybe who are seen as incompetent. Maybe she kind of represents that idea.
Yep. All right. Judging the two episodes as a whole, I think the thing that I liked about it was Hina herself. I think that she have gotten more, like more involved uh, into the whole things. I like in episode 7. Is that 7 and 8 that we're talking about?
Eight
In
and nine.
episodes 8 and 9. So in episode 8, when I it actually like a device, the plot device to see like how she have grown from when she first meet Nita.
Right, because Kay is looking at that checklist and seeing
Yeah,
whether she can pass or fail the test.
that for beginners and that for expert. Oh my god.
Right. But she passes, like she gets above a 90%, so she's supposed to be brought home, which doesn't end up
Yeah,
working out.
and I like the dynamic between her and Nita, like when she tried to tell him, but she couldn't tell him, so she tried to put that on her shirt, like very randomly, bye bye, or
Right.
like
Yeah, she had something
what?
on her shirt in episode 9 as well when she popped up out of the cardboard box. It said
Oh
Ikaruga
really?
or something.
What's
Yeah,
the that's mean?
I don't know.
All right.
So maybe that's
I
going to
will.
become a running gag.
Yeah, I will have a check on that. So I like Hina as a character now. I do feel that the show getting better when they introduce the new characters, and they run these characters, like putting them into the spotlight. So like Mami with her, like with her great all the crazy stuff, like she think that she have supernatural herself.
Right.
I really like that.
Yeah, that
And
what was funny to me about that scene was how quickly it moved. Like that whole, I shouldn't say scene, that segment was how
mhm,
fast it moves. Because first she's a skeptic, she doesn't believe what she saw. Then she really comes to terms with the fact that Hina has psychic powers. Then she begs her to become like her disciple. Then
yep,
she thinks that she actually does have psychic powers because Hina's doing it all just to placate this girl so she'll like leave her alone, which ends up
yep,
backfiring because the girl thinks that she's the best ever, so she becomes a huge braggart and she embarrasses herself in front of the whole class, and then she becomes a shut-in.
yep.
Just
For 2 days.
yeah, how crazy and fast paced that whole scene was. That's what sold it for me.
Yep. And the even the new character Mal with her. I think that segment was really sad, and it's not funny at all.
It was kind of funny with the Castaway reference, like the coconut with
Yeah.
the hair and stuff.
Whew.
Kind of reminded me of Hisone Tomaso-tan
All right.
when
With
when Hisone brought along what's her face's head from the
yep,
dummy that she makes for the air show.
yep.
And what is that
Uh,
girl's name? Whatever, it doesn't
now,
matter.
now,
Now
yeah, now,
in
and
Hisone Tomaso-tan.
yeah, yep,
Oh my god, the parallels. Her name is Now, and the girl who's stuck on the island in Hinamatsuri's name is Mao.
yep. Well,
Whoa!
but for all these yakuza stuff or the story revolving yakuza, I just don't feel it at all.
I liked one part about that story, and that was when Nito wakes up in a concrete barrel.
All right.
I thought that
Yes.
was a funny moment, like visually. A bunch of guys surrounding him. He's he's like in wet. I assume it's wet concrete. It wouldn't have been dry because then Like they would risk cutting off his fingers or something when they got him out.
Yep. Wow.
Uh, I and the guy holds the sword up to his neck and he's stuck in the barrel. To me, that's just funny on a visual level. Um,
Hmm.
but the Hina factors into that story. It's not just Nita doing his own thing and being irrelevant with a bunch of characters who we don't care about. At least Hina factors into it like a little bit. But that was probably my
Hmm.
least favorite part as well.
Yeah, I just don't buy any of that. And the new guy, the Nita brothers,
Right.
he just weak compared to like all these new characters that we have seen so far.
I guess I
For
agree.
me at
I
least.
mean, I don't I don't know if he's weak. I just didn't like him as much.
Hmm.
Maybe
Yep.
he's not as strong a character. I don't know. I mean
Right.
he's not the center of that story. For Mao, she's the center of her little bit at the beginning of episode 9. For Aniki,
Yep.
whatever his name was,
Yep.
he only plays a part in episode 9
Hmm.
in his bit. And even that story is more about Nita and Hina even than him because of the way that it changes their relationship. Like she wants to do something nice for him and throws that little party at the end of the episode, which ends up taking the form of like a shrine that she built in his house for Nita, who thinks he's dead when he walks in the door.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Right.
he's probably not as strong a character just because the show doesn't take the time to build him up. I mean, the it's a cute girl show.
Yeah. I do think that he will come back. Probably like in the manga, like in later in the story. But there's one more thing is that we have only like 3 episodes left, and
Yeah,
there's still a lot of new characters. Like they just introducing new characters at episode 9. So how they gonna be relevant in the story?
I think that's okay though because when comedy shows stop introducing new characters as a way of telling different stories, they can get stagnant.
Yeah, that I agree with that. Yes.
So Mal, her like I liked her story, even though as you said there was a bit of sadness to it. You know, maybe more even than comedy.
Hmm.
Um, and I liked Mommy because she was like it allowed the show to tell a new story. I don't think we've had a character like a lot of anime comedies have a character who's like an otaku or who's really obsessed with something and that drives everything about them. I don't know if we've
Hmm.
had a character like that in Hinamatsuri yet.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's wait and see. But from what I heard from uh, from the commercial point of view, I I I heard that Hinamashuri doesn't sell really well in in terms of anime like the physical stuff.
right, the discs.
So yeah, so I don't think that they're gonna be greenlit for the second seasons.
I'm fine with that.
So uh, I'm not fine with that.
I don't like sequels. I mean, I do if they're necessary, you know, if it's the big old story and you've got more to tell, but
For comedy though, well,
like the
I
take Psyche for example. You are still big
yep,
on Psyche Kusuo. Or at least
yep.
you're still enjoying the new season. I after 3 episodes I was like I'm finished with this. I liked the first season. I was done with it after that. So we probably
Well,
just have a difference of opinion there.
well, I actually agree with you regarding Psyche. For the last few weeks, I just feel that it's just like like a normal stuff. Like it stopped being like overly funny to me because it's just the same thing happening over again.
Yeah, I mean that's why
So
new
so yeah,
comedy. That's why new characters are so important,
yep.
as
So
well
I agree
as
with
like
you. Yes.
potentially short run times can help. I don't know if I would like
Hmm.
26
Hmm.
episodes of Hina Matsuri, and it sounds like from what you're saying that we might not have a chance to find out.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have a chance to see Mao again. But
I think we will, right? Because we see the little arrow that points to where is it? China? Is that where she
I
was?
actually no. So she was in some Iceland, and she actually moved to Thailand or Vietnam.
Okay,
It's based from the map.
right. Well,
which is
I'm
kind of
assuming,
interesting.
yeah, I'm assuming that wherever she goes is where we see her in episode one. That was like a flash forward. Because remember,
Oh
she's
right, so
fighting against a bunch of monks in the first episode. So
yeah,
I'm assuming that the island, because that's when she comes to Earth. That's where she
wow,
goes first, and then so what's happening now after that is what happened in episode one.
yeah. So
So
maybe she went to she will get to China. It looked like China to me.
yeah, it did to
The
me
the
too,
the
but
first episodes.
it did to me too. But like my grasp of geography is just piss poor.
Oh right. I'm actually alright with geography,
I'm sure,
so
dude.
I can tell. But
You didn't get an American education. So you probably know where other countries are on a map. I know where America is, Canada and Mexico. That's pretty easy. I know where Japan is. I know where England is. Beyond
all
that,
right,
it gets a little hairy.
all right. You know, all right. That's just skip all those no talk.
I like these episodes. I thought they were good.
All right. You actually know where Jamaica is?
Where what is? Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I if you gave me a map of the world with all the countries outlined in different colors, I'm not confident that I could identify which is Jamaica. But I know where it is in the ocean.
Oh,
Like
all right. Because
the cluster of countries, I know where it is.
because until few years ago, I still thought that Jamaica was in Africa. How
No,
about that? Yeah, I know. So when I realized the truth,
your mind was
I went
blown.
in. Yeah, that's exactly it. Oh my god.
Everybody has gaps in their knowledge some places, but I think that if you and I sat down and did like a contest to see who could name more countries accurately, like actually which one they are and not just what continent or what ballpark, I think you could probably get more than I could. So
Uh,
I don't know how many I could do. Like Africa in particular, I don't think I could get any. Maybe
Alright.
South Africa.
Yeah. It's like the common misconception for us Westerners that think that only a country from Africa was like one big Africa.
Oh no,
You
I
know?
mean of course I know there are a bunch of countries. I just don't think I could tell you like which is which, you know? Like I couldn't tell you
Yeah.
which one is Libya and I couldn't tell you just that kind of thing.
I
I don't know.
yeah I'm not really confident when it comes to Africa, but yeah, I can tell probably some of other countries apart.
Yeah. I
I can
mean,
tell the flag. I'm really good at flag.
I'm not even good at that. Well, we'll have to do this contest one day. But anyway, let's talk about
Wow.
Megalobox.
All right, Megalobox. So
Episodes 8 and 9.
I actually I actually think my Megalobox is one of the best of the season that we've seen so far. It's not really impressed me, but I think the level of qualities is like it's on the top. Make it the top to me. How do you think about Megalobox so far? All right.
I you know how last time we did the podcast a couple weeks ago we were talking about the fact that the show made such a hard like left turn and is now telling the story about
Yep.
the Shirato company, you know,
Mhm.
the brother and the sister vying for control. And we
Mhm.
the thought that I had was that there was potential for the show to, even though it was such a strange development or maybe just unexpected, there was the potential for the show to really do right by it and kind of tell two stories at once.
Mhm.
Um, but it would
It
depend on how it played out, how the show handled it. I don't think that
yeah.
it handled it too well,
All right. Tell me why.
because the fight just ends up happening anyway, and I don't think we learned anything too important as a result of this detour. Like at the end of episode 7, Joe's been sucker punched by Nanbu. He's just sitting there in the hallway as the doors close. And in
Mhm.
episode 9, the fight happens anyway, and he beats him in exactly the way you would expect. He keeps getting punched, falling down, getting up, and he gets like one big counterpunch in at the end, and he wins.
Yeah,
Did we
yeah.
was it really necessary to spend a whole episode 8 and a was the detour necessary? Did we learn anything about the world of Megalobox or any of the characters that that is important enough to have taken this extra time and this extra step? I don't. I think
Well,
the answer is no.
well, I think it's more like like setting the stake. So put the stake higher and higher each time. And while I agree with you that the story is kind of predictable, we know what we know the result. We pretty know like how everything gonna end up. I still enjoy the the way it build up, it build itself up, and I still feel like the five wasn't as good as it should be. But
Right.
I also like the idea of the gear list, like we talked before, the gear list and the super like AI here that help you to defend even before you think.
Right. Right. Yeah, but in episode 8, they're paying a lot of lip service to the idea that because Joe doesn't have gear, what's his
Mm-hmm.
face, Mikio, his gear is supposed to like read the electrical impulses that other people's gear gives off, and Joe doesn't
Yep.
have that. So, oh man, this Joe's going to be like the perfect counter. But in episode 9,
Yep.
nothing comes of that. It's his, some line is thrown in there about how, oh, Mikio's gear was given an upgrade, and now he's still like a
Well,
super guy.
yep. That's for the better for me. I actually don't like the fact that like because his gear can read the movement, he just like he just become disadvantaged. So it we can see that Joe was the underdog through and through. But it's actually kind of get me now that like Joe have to be beaten up every time before he can have a sucker punch and outlast the opponents, which which kind of getting like repeated to me.
You said it's getting to you as in what? Like you're finally understanding it, or you're getting tired
No,
of it?
no, I getting tired of it.
Oh yeah, I've been tired of it since. Yeah, I agree. I'm tired of it. uh, it's I like when the fights play out the same way every time. I don't even care who the fighter is, and I don't care who Joe is, because you might as well have like two faceless fighters, with who don't even look a particular way. Just put some stick figures in there and have them act out
Mm.
the same fight, where one of the stick figures is beating up the Joe stick figure a million times, and then stick figure number two gets the sucker punch, the uppercut, the lucky hit, and then he wins, and the other stick figure's on the ground. I like what. Do you remember Samejima, like the shark guy who was supposed to be a dirty fighter?
Yep. Right.
From episode 4 maybe, and
Yep.
that
Yep.
that
Yep.
that barely factored into the fight. Like he threw maybe one elbow,
Yep.
and Joe
Mm.
still beat him the exact same way.
Mm.
And we get tons of information about Mikio, especially his rivalry with Yuri,
Yep.
who he sees as his sister's dog, and they both
Yep.
have like different types of gear. We get a ton of backstory on those two, like developing them and their relationship. Um, but in the end, Mikio just he loses to Joe, and he does it in the exact same way as he would have if the fight had happened in episode 7. Even the thing that he holds over Nanbu's head, like the citizenship issue, Joe not being a citizen, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't factor into it at all. Like
Mm-hmm.
Nanbu just reveals to the woman, oh yeah, Joe, the reason that we had to call off the fight is because we were being blackmailed by Mikio. But like that doesn't even factor into her decision. She just leaves and announces that her brother's the winner before Joe busts in there and says, "Let's fight it. Let's actually fight." Like I just felt like
Uh,
episode 8 was a whole bunch of wheel spinning, man. I didn't see the point at all.
yeah. I see a point. Yep.
Like
Yeah, this.
Nanbu is even locked in a room. She locks him in the room so that he won't get out and reveal this information, and it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, this. That. Yeah, I agree with you. The story can be contrived at times. uh, all the development feel like calculated and predictable. But yeah, I still feel it, man. I still feel like when Joe hit the other guy onto the ground, I still feel the energy. I still feel like feel really good.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's what the show's going for.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you why I don't feel the same energy, except that I'm tired of the show. Like I'm probably tired of the show targeting that part of me, like wanting that same energy from me every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have any more of that
Mm-hmm.
energy to give. I want to be appealed to on a different level than just, oh, he got back
Mm-hmm.
up and he punched the guy.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I'm looking for, is just something different. And we had an opportunity for something different to happen, with this whole left turn the show took, with the whole Mikio versus,
Mm-hmm.
what is her name? What's the
Her sister,
girl's name?
his sister.
Yukiko.
I don't know.
Yeah, Mikio versus Yukiko. There was an opportunity for that to, I don't know. I just wasn't fulfilled by it.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh,
All right, and
how did you feel about Joe putting his guard down, like putting down his fists, and Mikio being
well,
unable to land a KO punch when Joe's fists were just like at his side?
I thought it was lame, to be honest.
Yeah, me too, dude.
You know, like you don't go to the fight, the boxing fight. You don't go to like one of the fight to that, and you let your guard down. You put your hands down. You don't do that, man.
Yeah. The
Well,
idea was that his gear wouldn't let him attack because he, like,
they.
it's the presence of the gear in that story that makes me like bristle at it, because apparently, and this is, I haven't seen Ashita no Joe, which this is based on, a reimagining of,
Mm-hmm.
but apparently
Yep.
a similar thing happens in Ashita no Joe, where Joe like puts his guard down and just stares his opponent down, and somehow that's successful. I can imagine that being
Huh.
I can imagine that being like intimidating, in a
Yep.
different circumstance. But in this one, because of the presence of the gear, and that just seems like silly video game logic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the answer to beat this level is to just put your arms down at your side. So I didn't.
It
I
sometimes
also thought
happen
it
to.
was lame.
It sometimes happen to tennis as well. When the player do the underserve, you know what I mean? Just they instead of doing a proper serve, they just just hit the ball into the opponent's uh, service box,
Right.
just just to make the opponent surprise.
Right. Keep them
Uh,
guessing.
yeah. So it like in theory it was lame, but actually in practice there were some famous people who actually do that.
Yeah. Well, I can see
And
that working because that's like a change up. But
yeah, but
to go ahead.
in boxing it does, but in boxing it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like the equivalent in tennis would be if you were supposed to be receiving the serve. So if you
Mm-hmm.
were not the service player and you just stood there and watched the ball go past until it was like 40 love, and then you decided
Yep.
to try.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would not fly. You can't just give up,
That's right.
a round like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
How about
Y-
Nanbu, at the very end of episode 9?
yeah,
He's supposed to play the role of betrayer again, because he's already done that in the past. Like, he's the guy who sucker punched Joe at first, and at the end of episode 7 we were like, what the hell's going on?
mm-hmm.
Then he also made Joe throw a bunch of fights, early on. So now he's somehow in league with the organized crime guy, uh, and he's like, "This is the end of the road for Joe." So and Nanbu has to do this again. He has to be the guy who like is gonna, quote unquote betray Joe. What do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think is the deal with that? Um, why doesn't Fujimaki want Joe to go any further in Megalonia?
Now, I think it's just a deal that uh, the guy whenever Joe get into the megalo box, he will lose so that the other guy can bet on him losing.
Yeah, probably
So
so.
so that's the whole scheme. But I think for that the development will be Nambu try to persuade um,
Fujimaki.
Joe
Oh,
in,
Joe.
into losing, and then he will change his mind at the last minute, and then he will pay for his life for that. So I will
Who's gonna
suspect
pay
that
with his life?
Nambu. So I suspect that Nambu gonna die after this.
Oh, okay, interesting. We do keep getting episode titles that involve the word death or die.
That
Dead,
yep.
yes, dead. So maybe instead of Joe being the one who might die, as you might expect, since it's a reimagining of I Should Know Joe,
Mm,
maybe it's going to be Nanbu, and that'll motivate Joe to, I don't know, keep punching people.
yep.
Okay, that's an interesting theory. I like it.
All right. Let's see how the next episodes and maybe the next one gonna deal with that.
Right. Yep. That's all we can
All
do.
right. Let's get to the last shows, the
Rose of
classic show,
Versailles.
Rose of Versailles.
Yeah.
How do you think about the last five that we just watched?
I don't know. I'm gonna need a minute to process them because I took all, I watched them all. I enjoyed them. I took my notes, and now I've got to remember what happened.
All right.
Go ahead.
First we got the Dark Knight,
Yes, that
who
took up
who
like
up
2 episodes, maybe.
2 episodes. Yeah, who apparently steal from the rich and distribute for the poor, just like Robin Hood.
Right. Yeah.
And then afterwards we got Oscar after a scenes having a scene with first Saint decided to move to uh,
The army.
the French guard.
Right.
That's the name that I got.
Yeah. In leaving the royal guards, asking Antoinette
Oh
for permission, and moving to the
yes,
French guards, which is more like the army.
and then in between we got Android, who have one of his eyes lost, and maybe go implied,
Right.
but decided to go to the army anyway to follow Oscar every step.
Right. And then he like later on after that's happened, he forces himself on Oscar.
Yeah,
That was in episode 29, maybe.
yeah, that was
No, no, no. It's at the
28.
it's at the end of 28. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then how does? Oh yeah, and then there's the whole thing with Jiro Dell asking for Oscar's hand in marriage,
Oh yes, that as well.
and then the guy who's killing nobles. That's in
The
episode
guy who
30.
killing nobles.
Yeah, one of Robespierre's friends. His name is like
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
San John or something. I don't know.
yeah.
He's killing
And
nobles, and Oscar goes to a ball where, um,
rest rest at the man.
yes, and then she like laughs at everyone and leaves. I thought
Yeah,
that was pretty badass.
yeah, that's right. All right.
Um,
So as a whole, it's the last five episodes is still very good. It entertaining. It's become I think like the show at this point now it's become really good at what it does compared to the last to the last batch that we got 20, episode 24 to 25. I think this one isn't as good.
yeah, I agree. I think 21 to 25 is the peak of the show so far.
Yeah, but mainly because it's moved away from the three main characters. So we got So it move away from Marie Antoinette. I think you like that. I think you would prefer that.
No, I mean, I know why you'd say that because I have complained about Marie Antoinette plenty on this podcast. Um, but I liked the direction that she took where she was like a mother first.
Mm-hmm.
Because well, I don't know, just because I can relate to that at least instead of her just like gambling and faking pregnancies and wasting people's money and buying dresses and being obsessed with her rivalry with Polignac and stuff like
Yep.
Dewberry, whoever.
Yep.
I just like I like the idea in terms of the potential that it has to add to the story of her being torn between her duty to her country and her duty to her kids.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that she has stepped back a little bit is I don't particularly appreciate that, but I know that the show is moving towards the French Revolution now, like full stop.
Yep.
We've got the Robin Hood character who's redistributing wealth. We've got the guy who's assassinating nobles.
Mm-hmm.
We've even got Oscar in a position now where she's not so much among the elite of society. She's down in the trenches with the French
Mm-hmm.
guardsmen who like hate her guts.
Yep.
So all the anti-nobility sentiments are really coming to the front of the show. So as a result, Antoinette has to take a back seat. The only time we see her in these 5 episodes is when Oscar asks her permission to join the French Guard.
And when what and when her son was sick,
Oh, that's right. That's right.
and and he said about his father's.
Yeah, he was calling for his father, even
Yeah.
though his father hardly spends any time with him, and it's mostly Marie Antoinette who's taking care of
Mm-hmm.
him. And so
Yeah.
at like she is shaken by that, and so she prays to God. I'll
Yep.
stop seeing Ferguson. Just get like spare my son. So as a result,
Uh,
Ferguson leaves, and as a result of that, Oscar leaves her position because she wants to do the same thing Ferguson did when he ran off to the
yep.
American Revolutionary War. There's a
Yeah, that's
parallel
right. Running away from
from your
it.
romantic
It just like
feelings.
yeah, it's just like Shuhei with Kai, running away from whatever it is.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean kind of. But Shuhei is like the rival kind of tropey character to me. Whereas this
Mm-hmm.
is in Rose of Versailles, the idea that Ferguson has to run away from his forbidden royal love, being echoed in the fact that Oscar she has to run away from Ferguson now and from her feelings as a woman. That's more of a
Yep.
classic type of story that's being told, so I appreciate that a little more.
Yep. And let's focus on the main characters for these 5 episodes that we just talking about, which is Andre.
Yeah, he's big. Like he's
Who
as big as Oscar for these 5 episodes probably.
yeah, who I agree that have a lot of the development in the last 5 episodes, because he in the position that that he's he's serving the royals. He been living with the royal for all his life, but he's at his core is it's the poor, so he can see like the true perspective. He can understand how the rich people behave the way they do, and how the French revolution and all the people dissatisfied about the rich, the royals.
Right. Yeah, during the Robin Hood arc, the Black Knight, those 2 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
he like Andre suspects him at first because they bear such a close resemblance to one another,
Mm-hmm.
and Oscar did I say that right? Oscar suspects him at first.
Yep.
I don't want to
Yep.
get their names mixed up. And Andre does not help his case because he keeps making comments like, "Is the Black Knight really wrong in doing what he's doing? The
Yep.
nobility have too much, and the common people need that wealth. They need food. They need to eat. Is it really
Mm-hmm.
wrong what he's doing?" So yeah, he says something like directly to Oscar along the course of these episodes early on. I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's true that I've lived with you and served you, but I'm a man of the people. Like I'm a common man. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a noble. And I think these episodes do a good job of painting the difficulty that he has in reconciling his position, his
Mm-hmm.
like his elevated position being so close to Oscar,
Mm-hmm.
but also feeling that like what's going on in France is really messed up. And when even when he like stays, he dedicates himself to serving Oscar and in to taking down the Black Knight, the Dark Knight, Black Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he pays like the ultimate price. He pays with his left eye,
Yeah,
and like he goes on a whole downward spiral because of that.
that's
So
right.
it like clearly illustrates how tormented he is about. I mean, not just his romantic feelings for Oscar, but his conflict, like his inner conflict about what's going on in his country and who are his real people.
And
Is it Oscar? Is that who he's supposed to be with, or is he should he do his duty
yeah,
to the common man?
and what size is gonna choose?
You're right. Yeah, and I mean his eye literally gets cut in half. You see that when the sword pierces his left eye, you don't actually see the sword go
That's
in,
right.
but you see like his pupil get split in half.
Yeah,
So there's like a visual representation of the duality that's going on, in his heart.
it's a nice visual that we got there.
Yeah, yeah. I really did like it. It's I'm sure like anime in the 70s, maybe in the early 80s, TV anime especially. Maybe movies and OVAs are targeted a different crowd, but TV anime it was mostly for children. So you've got to
Mm-hmm.
skirt around the issue of like sexual violence, which we'll get to in a second, and also physical violence.
Yeah,
And the way that it did it when the sword goes through, you see the cloth tearing, and then you see the eye splitting. Like
mm-hmm.
I when I saw that, I really felt, I was like squeamish. I almost wanted to look away.
Yeah,
So it was, the pain and the horror of that happening to you was effectively communicated.
yeah. I feel the impact too, and I also like the fact that whenever he's in confused, um, remember one of the scenes where when he got drunk, he went to one of the homeless guy, and then the guy who played the music, and just by seeing him, he talk he can like understand perfectly what Andres is been through.
Right.
I like, yeah, I like that scene. So, and I like the scene where he's and his new friend that guy who tell him that you smell of nobles.
Right. What is that guy's name? He's like the main French guard character. Did I write
Yeah,
his name down?
I don't
I'm
remember his name.
I'm not sure that I did. I don't
Uh,
think I wrote it down. Shoot. That's a big oversight because he's important.
yeah.
Um, we'll just call him Andre's friend, I guess.
Yep. All right.
It's settled. Yeah, he's
So
he's
so
an
I like
interesting
those.
character for sure.
Yep.
Go
I
ahead.
like those. I like those two scenes because Andre is in the position where he unsure about everything. So like having on this guy like see through him and further further tell him what position he is and what side he gonna choose.
Right. Yeah, he's what do you think about the homeless man or the maybe he's not homeless, but he's like a drifter of some sort. He's got the peg leg and the eye patch. He always has the
Uh huh.
accordion. He keeps popping up.
Yep.
I mean, even as early
Yep.
as the show's first half, when it was more focused on court politics and intrigue and Marie Antoinette's
Yep.
fits of just baby
Yep.
babiness.
Uh,
He was popping up even then to give us a glimpse of what life is like for
yep.
the common man in France. So what do you think about the show's use of him as a device or as a character?
Well, he's just a recurring characters who 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 basically tell you about how how the people feel at that moment of time. how the conflict, how the yeah, how the conflict have been raised from that time. So I like his role. I don't think he's gonna be more relevant than this. So I think he just like keep popping up from time to time.
Yeah. He's
And
kind of like a go ahead, sorry.
actually in Utena there is a kind of characters, two character actually, who do exactly that role in every episode. Who
Really?
we yeah who we don't know where they're from or what or what their character names. They just appear as like the plot device who tell you about those things.
Yeah, it's interesting that you'd bring that up because it kind of reminds me of the like the theatrical technique of having a Greek chorus
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
who are like set
Uh,
apart from all the other characters and who kind of fill you in as narrators almost.
yeah, yeah.
That's kind
I
of
think he served that role.
yes. Yeah, and I think he does it pretty well because he
Yep.
like I really like his character design. How he's so ragtag. You know, he's like beaten up. He's missing an eye. He's missing a leg. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Andre is now missing an eye. It should be noted they have that in common.
Yeah.
Um, I also I like though that he has like a quiet wisdom to him. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like an old sage. You know.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he effectively represents the people's suffering because he's not emotional about it. He is just a perfect encapsulation of like after Marie Antoinette after she has her first child and all the common people are like celebrating and drinking and stuff.
Yep.
He's not engaging in that. He's off to the side. He's in like a quiet alleyway or corner and he says, "Drink now while you can. Be happy now while you can, because your time is running out."
Yeah. That's right.
So he's I really like what the show's doing with him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about the sexual violence that you just mentioning.
Right? Yeah. This is at the end, I think, of episode 28.
Yep.
So the context for this is one thing that I noted is it's right before it. Like I think it's in episode 28 that Oscar or that Andre goes to the bar
Mm-hmm.
and is like partying with all the French guardsmen,
Yep.
and they all get drunk and they start fighting,
Mm-hmm.
and they're singing a song about like the narrator of the song, like the lyrics are directed at a woman who
Yep.
is waiting at home for her husband or her lover who's a soldier, and the
Mm-hmm.
lyrics say, don't be unfaithful, like don't cheat, because my fist
Yep.
is more threatening than like 100 guns or something like that,
All
or
right. Yeah. Yeah.
than the enemy's military strength. Don't
Yep.
cheat, or essentially like it's a physical threat. Don't be unfaithful, or else you're
Yep.
gonna get it. Uh,
It's more about like masculine dominance.
right. Yeah. So I
You know. Yeah.
I couldn't help but notice that song, like he's drinking and going wild with that song in the background right before he engages in right before he does what he does to Oscar.
Yeah.
So the stage is set in that way for
Yep.
him forcing himself on her. I mean that doesn't excuse his behavior at all, but I think the show probably sets us up so it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
come completely out of the blue. Although it's still shocking.
Yeah. Well, it was shocking to me. I didn't expect that the show about like this kind of show would have that kind of scenes.
Yeah.
And it's from Android to Oscar to Boost.
Right. Yeah. Because Andre has always been portrayed as the loyal not servant. I guess he is a servant. The loyal
Loyal,
companion.
yeah, loyal dog.
I don't know about a dog. We're not talking about like junk dog over here. He is, he and Oscar, like they typically have a little bit of banter. They go back and forth, and but he is always there with her. Like he never takes it too far. Obviously, he took it way too far in this episode, but in a different way. Like he will follow her lead. She decides what needs to be done. If there's a conflict, she decides what course of action to take, and he follows. So for him now to be, like tearing off her shirt and forcing her down on the bed and pinning himself on top of her, that's it's pretty striking, and
Yeah.
it's uncomfortable.
Well, I think those scenes just serve as a reminder for Oscar that although she behaves like a man, that she want to behave like a man, she's still a girl. She's still a woman.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he
Uh,
says that to her. He uses that
yeah,
metaphor of the rose can never become a lilac.
I like that metaphor. But yeah, so that why by ripping off her clothes is just another reminder for her that she's a woman. That
Right.
that just doesn't justify the way that he does it. Do you think is there any like sexual tensions from Andre at that scenes?
Any sexual tension? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of sexual tension, like when it happens, or um, you mean is there any like chemistry? Is that
No. I just mean like sexual tension from Andre to Oscar.
like oh I mean yes, clearly that's the whole reason
Yeah.
he pushes her down and pins himself on top of her is because he wants to have sex. But
All right.
very very quickly, he realizes that what he's doing is like horrible. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's a that's the whole reason that things play out the way they do is because he says to her like I've loved you for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so probably since they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, all of his lust is like sucked out of the situation completely when he realizes like how how stricken Oscar is by what's going on. That's to me that's the most impactful bit of that entire scene is
Mm-hmm.
after he like rips off her blouse, her shirt. She like turns her head to the side because she doesn't want to look at him, and her eyes are like wide open. She's not blinking, and she's
Mm-hmm.
crying, and she says, "Is this so? What are you gonna do now?
Yeah.
What now?" And as soon as he hears that, he I guess he snaps out of it. Would be one
Mm-hmm.
way to put it. He just realizes that he's acting like an animal.
Yep.
And he covers her up with the sheet and apologizes, but he still says, a rose can never be a lilac. I don't
Mm-hmm.
really feel as though it was. If let's say that this happens in real life, like a situation like this happens in real life, as it does, I'm sure, tens of thousands of times all over the world every day.
Oof.
I mean, you with 6-7 billion people on Earth, this kind of thing is happening everywhere.
Yep.
Um, like if this were a real situation, then he has no right to insist, even after he's covered her up and apologized. He has no right to say you're still a woman. It's not his place.
Yep.
But in the context of this story, which is very much about the conflict that Oscar is experiencing about her, her gender and her romantic feelings, all of that. I
Mm-hmm.
understand. I understand its purpose.
Yep.
Still not a great move for him though to be like, yeah, what I did was wrong, but you're still a girl.
But my point still stand.
What point is that?
Yeah. Oh, that
Oh
girl's still
yes,
a girl.
yes, yeah. He still has to get that last word in there. Like that. If that were included, like in maybe a more modern anime series or book, film, whatever, that I would
Mm-hmm.
I would bristle at that way more. I would just be that would be completely indefensible.
Yep.
Um, this is an older series and it's very much about like gender fluidity and I figuring out how to identify yourself. I can understand, why that line is put in there and what purpose it serves.
Yep.
How do
And
you?
I think
Go ahead.
yeah, yep. And I think Oscar role as a like as try to identify if she should act like a man or she should behave like a girl become like essential like development in this as well. So we got like her father not trying for her to get laid.
Get married.
Get laid.
Yeah, pretty.
With
I mean, yeah, kind of. That does seem to underpin what's going on. Like he wants her to experience happiness as a woman. It's the same. It's the same like bullshit that we heard in Hisone Tomaso-tan. Like a woman's happiness is to be together
to
with a
get
man
married,
and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, like
that she love.
yeah, but
That's right.
but in this show, what underpins it is that Oscar needs to experience a woman's happiness as a sexual participant. So that
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that kind of yeah. Her dad wants her to get laid on
yeah,
some
and
level.
and in this context, it actually makes sense because it was in the 18 something,
Yeah,
so it was long ago, and the anime is old as well. So I think it's the context of her trying to figure out her real
yeah.
sexual orientation. I think she pretty much she's not a lesbian in that sense.
No, I mean she clearly likes men, just not Andre.
Yeah, yeah. I think the show there raised some interesting point about that, about the sexual stuff, the sexuality fluid. That what you put it.
Gender fluidity.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah, the idea that you're not just a man or you're not just a woman.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That there's like a spectrum, and there's a similar spectrum for like sexuality in terms of who you're attracted to. So we know that Oscar is not sexually fluid. She likes men,
Mm-hmm.
but she is gender fluid, I think, because I
Mm-hmm.
mean think about how she was raised as a boy with her father insisting that she like be referred to as a man. He has to constantly it's like all the scenes where her dad is talking to that governor or the head of the army, whoever that guy
Mm-hmm.
is. The other
Yeah,
guy
right.
has to constantly catch himself and refer to Oscar.
Yeah,
He first refers to Oscar as
as
like
a
a man
boy.
and then as a woman, or maybe it's the other way
Yeah.
around.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I mean the role that Oscar plays, it's confusing for her, but it's confusing for everyone else too because it really is so like she hides it very well. She disguises it very well, and some people don't know how to feel about that. Like the French guards, for
Mm-hmm.
example, they don't know that Oscar is a woman until it's brought up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
At first, they assume that she's a man.
Yep.
It's yeah, the show does a lot of commentary on that, which is I'm sure that's part of why it's still recognized today, because
Yep.
it was like way ahead of its time in terms of addressing those sorts of issues. I
I
mean,
yep.
it
Mm-hmm.
does it better than most anime today because like a lot of anime that's made now, characters who are like this
Mm-hmm.
are joked about rather than put at the center of like a sweeping classical tragedy.
Yep.
So I mean, I can see why it's stuck around for 40 years in people's memories.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you a question since you're like a cinema guy and you probably pay attention to stuff like this. Did you notice that there were birds everywhere in these 5 episodes?
There's a bird, you say?
Birds. Like there were
Oh yeah, yeah. All right.
constant.
So there,
There were white birds
yeah,
and black birds.
there were crowd that that was that were hitting Oscar with like some kind of like the bad omen
Right. Yeah, there
that
were.
that's something bad gonna happen, and Andre got his eyes slit
Right. Yeah.
afterwards, and there was like white birds which I think was dove,
Yeah, I thought that there were dubs as well.
Whenever Oscar and Andre, I think when Oscar told Andre that don't follow her.
When was this?
I think that's when she wanted to become a friend
Oh,
guard.
yes, yeah. Like you don't have to accompany me anymore. You're released from duty or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there was like a string of white dove
There were
like flying on top of
okay. That's
her head.
interesting. There.
Uh,
I mean, there were white doves all over the place. Like in all of these 5 episodes, probably.
yeah,
I kept noting them like popping up. So I like they're white. Obviously, they. I mean, they probably represent innocence. But the what you just brought up about the doves being present in that scene, maybe they kind of represent freedom. Like
yeah,
Andre's being freed from his from not only his position of like servanthood, but he's
hmm
also being freed. Perhaps he's given the opportunity to be freed from his like romantic feelings,
yeah,
but
and
he doesn't take that opportunity.
yeah, and I do think that those the wife bird, represent Oscar as a white knight. So like the kind of the kind of people who like straightforward and like I just think Oscar as a white knight.
Like
So I think
as more of a pure character, not someone who's motivated by
yeah,
like money
by
or
dark,
greed.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that, yeah,
Yeah, like purity, innocence. Yeah, that definitely makes sense given the white color.
hmm
I if I were like really thorough, I would go back and rewatch the 5 episodes and the whole series and note every single scene where the birds pop up and stuff. That
well,
was when I did eventually notice it though. It was interesting to me to note just how frequent they were. Like it's clearly not an accident.
yeah, and do you realize there was a lot of like reflection shot? So like
I think the show's been doing that since like from the beginning. A lot
yeah,
of
so
like
that's
the a lot of
so that's a kind of them motive. hmm
motif. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
The reflection shots that like there are a lot of people looking in the mirror or looking in bodies of water, but
Yep.
the reflection shots that get to me the most in this show are like do you remember some of the scenes where like a carriage is riding along
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
dirt path from above and then the
The
water
lake.
yeah the lake right next to it like borders it in parallel. It's crystal clear and there's an exact reflection
Yep.
of the carriage.
I, I
Those
was I
go
was
ahead.
thinking of those scenes as well. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, those are very striking to me. Very very pretty.
hmm
But yeah, of course, there's going to be a whole bunch of characters like looking in mirrors and like smashing mirrors. I'm pretty sure we've seen that a bunch of times already. I think Paul,
Newberry.
yeah, Dewberry. I think Polignac does it too,
Oh,
because
Polignac. Yes.
yeah, because she like the idea is that she doesn't want to see her reflection. She doesn't want to reflect on the things that she's done, the manipulation that she's held over the queen
hmm
and all that. Um,
and and it's meant to be that she destructive. She tried to destroy everything,
yeah, she even
basically break
destroys
everything.
herself by breaking the mirror. She's destroying herself in a sense,
Yeah. Right.
which
Right.
she did with the constant gambling and lying and I mean eventually she gets involved in the whole what was it called?
Uh, the necklace.
Yes, the I can't remember the name of the incident surrounding the necklace exactly. It was like the incident of the diamond necklace or something.
Oh, the affair of the diamond necklace.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, she gets like caught up way too deep, and she
hmm
knows that about herself, but she doesn't want to acknowledge it, so she smashes the mirror and is trying to like kill that part of herself. Yeah, this I'm sure that in the last 10 episodes because we've only got 10 more to go, I'm sure that that'll keep popping up. We'll get
Yep.
plenty more uh
hmm
examples of that motif.
Oh, and there was another character that I want to bring up, which is Rosalie.
Yes, she does pop up again.
And we saw her briefly when she live in the pool right now, but she obviously happy. And I think that this might the end of her appearance because I think that her character is quite complete right now.
I agree, but I do remember you saying that we probably wouldn't see her again 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago.
So, and I think Rosalie have matured a lot, which is a good side.
Yeah, she seems to be very like at peace. I don't think there's
Right.
much left to do with her character. Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Especially since we're moving towards the French Revolution now, the point of bringing her back in is to demonstrate that um, since she is functioning as a commoner now, she's no longer in high society. We see her and we acknowledge that those characters and their points of view are important. I'm getting a lot of weird noises on your end.
Oh really?
Yeah, are you moving the laptop?
Yep.
All right. Um, the guy who's killing nobles. Do we want to talk about him at all? Because he's like an acquaintance of Robespierre, and the Black Knight was also like Bernard. He was Robespierre's friend. Now
Yeah.
this other guy is kind of going rogue, and he's not under Robespierre's control anymore.
I I think he gonna meet Oscar soon,
Probably, yeah.
and yeah, they're gonna have the duel, and Oscar gonna kill him off. That's what I think his role gonna be about.
Yeah. There are Oscar's having constant duels and showdowns with people in the series.
Mhm.
So that'll probably be another in a long line of sword fights,
Yep.
which is fine by me. I like the sword fights.
All right. All right. Do you have any closing thought?
Oh man, these 5 episodes were packed with stuff. You know, some of it like I think Oscar's act of violence or Andre's act of violence towards Oscar is probably the most significant moment of the show so far.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because Oscar is the central character and because Andre has been moved towards the center so much and has been accompanying her since the start. Um, so there was that we talked about that a lot. There's a whole bunch of good stuff surrounding that. Um, you know, all the stuff with the French Revolution. It's like the doomsday clock is ticking down. So I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
there's more we could go into, but we should probably cap it here because we're already like pretty deep into this podcast.
All right. All right.
So we're done.
It's a good. Yep. It's a good week in terms of anime for me, and hopefully we get now when it start to come to the end of the seasons. Hopefully, like everything that we got covered wrap up neatly in the end.
Well, Piano no Mori won't wrap up. Um,
Yep.
but we'll decide whether we want to keep covering that. To be honest, like right now, I'm kind of interested in continuing after episode
Mm-hmm.
8, which I really liked. But we'll do our typical thing and sample a whole bunch of series and see whether it deserves it.
All right.
I'm looking forward to next season already. But this season, yeah, I agree. Good week for anime. The season's it's pretty good so far.
All right. So yeah, that's it for us for now,
All right.
and we see you guys next week.
Yes, we will be here next week.
All right. Thanks
Bye.
for listening.